I'll see if I can bring up my PowerPoint and the announcements for today.
Hi, Evelyn.
Hi.
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 Hi, Ami.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Connie.
Hi,
Hi.
Connie. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Lillian.
Hi.
Is Carmen on?
She
Is
was.
Carmen on?
That doesn't have the sound.
Do lobby ministry even virtually. We can meet and greet each other, and that's why Jerson's turned on the switch at 9 o'clock too. So if you're early birds, like honestly, I think May 2nd we would have had a breakfast this morning if we were at the if we had our original plans and once a month have a breakfast that Vern and Jerson and others got going. We just barely got that going to have a chance to connect. So I hope each of you have been blessed by the presence of God in your life this past week. I'd like to share briefly some announcements, and then can you see the announcements on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. And we'll have a video from our conference president here in our announcements shortly. So the latest information, and it still says May 17th for our church building and LAC to be open. That was a date that was given to us weeks ago. If you notice in the on the screen there, the most recent, and this is like 5 o'clock last night, the most recent communication from the conference communications team has said next week we're starting to look toward guidance on how we will reopen when the time comes. We were hoping to update public statements today, but with Governor Brown and Inslee, Governor Inslee with Washington, released new guidelines today. We want to take a little time to digest them so that the public guidance can be more substantive than just keep waiting. And basically, as I see that, we haven't heard definitively about churches. We're starting to hear some churches, but are opening, or there's a date to open churches, but there would be guidelines, I think, with social distancing and hygiene, and Jerson and the health ministry team is looking at ways to make sure that everything is safe. So I guess we're still waiting, but at least we might have an opportunity to look towards a date here in the next couple of weeks. So anyway, just keep praying and just keep connecting with one another. That brings me to the connection teams. We've been doing this now for about 6 weeks, and so basically we're hoping that you have had a connection or have been asked or felt impressed to call another church member, one of the family, and encourage them, connect with them, pray with them. That connection helps strengthen our community. So prayer and praise requests, you can still send them in, church email or my email or the church phone number or my office phone, and the information's on the screen. Let's see. Okay. Jerson, am I controlling this or are you? I think I am. So never mind. Okay, here we go. Tithes and offerings. As we've talked about, it's important to remember that we're physically apart, but we're together virtually, and the work of our local church and our worldwide churches continues. So our local church expenses, which this week is the local church budget. I forgot to update that, but it's supposed to be the local church budget and then disaster and famine relief next week. But anyway, our local church expenses continue, and that includes utilities, insurance, security monitoring, payroll, subsidies for the schools and for PACs, as well as other expenses related to our church functions. So we're still encouraging you to set aside your tithes and offerings and then have them ready to bring to the church when we have a chance to assemble. A new option, and you'll see it on the screen, if you'd like to mail your tithe and offering envelopes in to the conference, they have agreed to just hold them, collect them. And so the address is on the screen there. You can send them in, and you on the outside of the envelope say Oregon Conference Seventh-day Adventist, 19800 Oakfield Road, Gladstone, and then attention treasury, and then put Lentz SDA Church. Then the treasurer will just look at the envelope, put it in a pile, and then a couple of times a month, maybe more, one of our treasury members from our Lentz Church will collect those offerings. They have to do it at the ABC, so the conference of people just have to take the gathering of the envelopes over to the ABC and hand them over to the treasury group. We're doing this because our security at our church with the mail, and if somebody decides, oh, I'm just going to drop it off and stick it in the door, it's not as secure and as safe as what we can do this. But please remember, make out your checks as you have done in the past to the Lentz Seventh-day Adventist Church, not the Oregon Conference, so that it gets credited accordingly. And we are currently also working on a plan to set up Adventist online giving. We're piloting that right now. And so that's the information. Any questions on tithes and offerings and how you can do that? Send that in. Okay, for the weekly schedule, it's the same. We did add a 9 o'clock early start on Sabbath, and it's a good time to say hello to one another. So Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, Friday, 6:30, and Sabbath morning. This Sabbath, if you connect at 11:15 at the OregonAdventist.org, if you're watching the sermon series there, it's continuing with Rob Zama today, Courage to Face the Insurmountable. And then Gary and Shelley Parks, along with their son Zachary Parks, will be providing the praise and worship music right at 11:15. And then there's a children's story there as well.
Pastor,
Yes.
this is Connie.
Hi.
Last week when I tried to connect, it was last week's service. I could never get the live service. And I just wondered, I mean, I went to this Oregon Conference website.
Yeah, the OregonAdventist.org.
It
Right.
has to be Oregon.
Scroll down there. It's on the first page, but if you look at it, you'll see an arrow, looks like an active play button arrow.
Okay.
And then if you click on that, that should bring you into the live streaming services that are going on.
Okay.
They
Try
do
that today
have,
then.
yeah, I think they have YouTube files that are set up for previous services, but the live streaming, you should be able to find that.
What if you look for it on Facebook, go to their Facebook page. It's on live there.
Okay, that's true. Good. Thank you, David. It's also on Facebook.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So
Pastor, question?
that's the weekly scheduled, and the church website remains the same. And so in order to see what's been going on, and it's been updated very recently and regularly by Jerson, it's www.lentzsda.org. You can find the recordings of our lesson studies and our devotionals and AY all on the site, and it's listed under live programs for this week. Church business. We have some church business to take care of. It'll be the second reading of greeters, and so we're the recommendation is to invite Paul Cole, Cheryl Griffin, and Cheryl's on the call today, and Yvonne Wright to be a part of the reader team. So we had a first reading last week. This is a second reading. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
Second motion.
Moved.
I hear a motion and I hear a second. Okay,
Raising my
all
hand.
those in favor, say thank you, Paul, Cheryl, and Yvonne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul,
Cheryl.
Cheryl, Yvonne.
On.
Okay, sounds like the motion is passed. So that's good news. Like I said, we're looking forward to putting the greeters to work in the lobby one of these days soon. So, Jerson, are we ready for the video message from Dan Linrud?
Okay, I have to turn off your sharing so I can share mine.
Okay, so what's happening here is, and this is a connection that was just released yesterday, and I forwarded it. You may have already seen this. There was also a video on Big Lake. The Big Lake summer camps were canceled for the summer. There is an opportunity to participate in Big Lake by sharing an offering to help rebuild the lodge. So since the summer camp is not taking place, there's an opportunity to do some rebuild the lodge because it needs to be done. The Forest Service is already in the process of giving them access to having that building done. So you can find out more about that, and then also Impact Your Health is on hold. Okay, here's the message from Pastor Dan.
Can't hear him.
Here,
Let's see. Jerson, do I need to do something at my end here?
No, Pastor, I'm
Okay.
adjusting the volume.
Okay, thank you very much.
No sound.
No sound.
Still no sound.
You have to be a good lip reader.
Yeah.
Ayaw lumakas ang volume nito. Ba't parang nangyari dito?
I can barely hear it. If there's a challenge with that, I can maybe give you a bit of a highlight there. Has anyone else seen this video yet?
No.
Okay. We'll give Jerson just a
I
moment.
did last night.
Okay.
Pastor Steve, this is Cheryl.
Yeah.
So I can't see emails anymore due to the hack and spam that I've had happen with my computer.
Okay.
Don't send any. I can't get them. I've got to see about getting it worked out of my computer.
Do you have Facebook on your
No,
smartphone? Okay.
no. But
You know, the other thing I can do, I think there's a script on this. There's a written text that I can forward you, all of you. Well, I guess if you don't have email.
my email, I can't get in. Hackers have.
Let's pause for a moment and see if we can let Jerson see if he can get the volume to work. This is a new one for me in Zoom.
Email talaga.
I think it's a lost cause.
Jerson, If you're not able to, we can hear it a little bit, but I think it has something to do with audio, and I don't know.
It's, I already put it on the maximum. That's the way it is, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Well, the gist of what he is saying, at least he's sharing, it's about a 9-minute video, but one of the things that the conference executive committee has voted on is to have a phased in enforce, means reassignments, layoffs of pastors as well as office personnel in order to help meet the budget needs. So this was in process. Phase 1 is what he's talking about in the video, and you can hear a little bit more about that. You get a chance to connect. That phase 1 is already started, and it was in process in January and February. When they asked me to take on the Village Church, for example, they saved a portion of an FTE when I became a district pastor with 2 churches. So there are plans to do similar types of things for reassignments. There's going to be some layoffs, and there's going to be some changes that are happening because of the reduction in tithes and offerings, but also the impact, and it's been a big impact with this pandemic on our financial situation with the conference. Dan is saying, and I agree with him, the work of the Lord will carry on. It has in the past, it will be today, and it will happen in the future. It just may look a little bit different. So take an opportunity to check out those videos. There's one from Dan, and then right after that is there one from Big Lake, Les Zolbrick, and there's some other information on that Oregon Conference Ed Connections email. Well, we'll continue now with our